Welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Rashad Miller. I'm here with Zach Hill, and we're at Pro Tour Magic 2015. So we're going to watch the Magic 2015 draft. We have Owen Turtenwald here. We actually had this draft recorded, so we're going to get this playing. And you kind of know what their strategy is going to be a little bit, right?
Yeah, like Huey, Owen really likes white and green, thinks the rest of the colors are a big step down, and we see Inferno Fist still near the front. See
alongside a Heat Ray, and it looked like there was a Quickling in there.
Yeah, Quickling, one of the better blue cards, like Welkin Turn, which a lot of people say is the best or second best blue common. But I'm thinking right here, Inferno Fist, one of the premier cards, unless for whatever reason you want to stay out of red. Looks like Owen's focusing on that Quickling, though.
Yeah, now it looks like he's ordering the cards in the order that they're going to get picked. Someone's going to add a Battlefield Forge there. Well, he picked the Quickling. It was just weird that that Battlefield Forge was up front, but that's interesting. Is that a consideration?
I mean, I don't think you're looking at the land this early, but it's good to know that that's there to think about what you might be able to splash later. Interestingly, a lot of people are saying that red is maybe even the best color, but Team Channel Fireball Pantheon has it a little bit lower on their ranking.
All right, so now we have a Swiftclaw Divination, a Gargoyle Sentinel. He's looking to stay open. Divination's up to the front. Is that something that you really look to draft this early?
I would be really surprised to take Divination over Encrust. If your plan is to play blue flyers, you kind of can hit in the air and then encrust their ground creatures. Also, just knowing a Quickling not in the draft, that's one fewer way to deal with a card like Encrust. That said, drawing cards never bad in Magic the Gathering.
Never bad. Never bad to have too many cards. Well, unless you are about to get that. But he did take the Divination, so looks like he's looking to stay monocolored for now. Maybe try to pick up a solid second color with some big bomb.
Yeah, I mean, Oresco Swiftclaw also in the pack. Not a bad early 2-drop, but he wanted to stay in blue. And big reward here with Into the Void.
Into the Void, able to bounce 2 creatures. He's also looking at a Black Cat and a Borderland Marauder.
And Borderland Marauder, one of my favorite red cards. I think initially a little bit, it's easy to undervalue a card that's 3-power attacker for 2 mana. But I think Into the Void, really one of the best uncommons you can open in blue. You've got to be excited to be rewarded with that for your 3rd pick.
Exactly, and it is great that he's actually all blue right now. So he's solidly in blue, and he's still a little bit open, trying to find that second color.
You know, Rashad, I'm actually really excited to see this draft. I think blue commonly thought of to be the weakest or second weakest color in this format. I'm excited to see someone like Owen, one of the world's most talented players, really kind of conducting a clinic into how to draft this color.
Now, we remember he had that Black Cat up to the front of the pack. Now he's looking at more black cards. He has a Gravedigger and a Covenant of Blood.
Yeah, you're right. I think this is a real sign that black is open. Gravedigger and Covenant of Blood, both cards that I've seen plenty of people first pick in this format, and even more card advantage. He takes the Gravedigger, so he's got Gravedigger to go with that Quickling and Divination already. Looks like he's a deck that can put himself up pretty ahead of the card advantage.
And some might say that black is the second worst color, so he's really positioning himself in the 2 least drafted colors at this tournament. Now he has a white card pulled to the front with the Kithkin Skirmisher.
Yeah, Kinsbell Skirmisher actually really good in this set. Goes well with Peel from Reality. Welcome to but a Flesh to Dust.
There was a Flesh to Dust hiding behind those cards. Probably the best common in black.
Yeah, I would absolutely say so, and I think these are signals that, I mean, Owen just is in the correct colors right now, especially in black. Flesh to Dust, very, very late. I think that's a sign that a lot of players don't like black in this format, but, I mean, he is getting paid off right now.
I mean, 5 mana is a lot, but it does just kill a creature straight up. Here's more black cards, and we got a Paragon of the Open Graves and a Witch's Familiar. Witch's Familiar, probably not the strongest pick, but that Paragon's looking good.
Yeah, Paragon, powerful if you're in black. The downside of it is that you have to play a lot of black creatures, which are not the strongest. But relevantly, one of the things it does is make cards like Black Cat able to actually trade with opposing threats. I think one of the reasons we saw Owen shift that Black Cat to the front of his pick order is that black just needs anything to do early to avoid being overrun by the swarm decks, and it can actually trade with a lot of the 2/1s in this format.
And speaking of more black cards, we have a Accursed Spirit, which is one of the top commons for black. And it looks like there's a Bronze Sable hiding behind there, too. Bronze Sable does a lot of work in this format.
You're right. It it pairs up very well against a Cursed Spirit, but I think a Cursed Spirit, just a powerful enough Magic card that you've got to take it there, even though the curve considerations really, I think, are making Owen want to figure out how he can get more 1, 2, and 3 drop creatures in his
and
deck.
he's actually cutting black very hard. There were no other black cards in that pack. And he is getting paid off. Owen gets a Rot Feaster Maggot. He's looking at Evolving Wilds, probably not the consideration, but my Rot Feast Maggot, that guy's great, right?
Card's really good, has great synergies with Warden of the Beyond, and it means that even if you fall back behind early, it can get you back in the game, both by having a 5 toughness body and by gaining you some of that life back.
And that 3 power is nothing to joke with either. All right, so now we're kind of getting to the scraps of the pack. We have a Leeching Sliver. I think he picked up a Statue of Denial there. Solid card, playable.
Yeah, the raid is not great, 4 mana for a counter spell, but there are a lot of bomb rares in this format, and having an answer to that is a good thing to know. It gives you kind of a sense of security.
So it looks like the choice here is reasonable black card or Pat the Trade Binder with that Sliver High.
I mean, we saw a Sliver earlier in the pack. I believe it was a Toxic Sliver. So, you know, there's a non-zero chance you could pick up 1 or 2 Slivers and turn this. I mean, if you can turn Sliver Hive on, it's very powerful. Wow, a late Black Cat.
I think that's that same Black Cat that he put to the front of the pack. So if no one wants that Black Cat, do you think he's the only black drafter in this draft?
He might be. We've seen those packs loaded up with black, and that makes that Paragon of Open Graves into a true force. Death Touch ability, really relevant on a card like Black Cat.
Snagged on the gate, not much else. A couple of green cards in there. That Wall of Mulch was pretty late, and that's not a bad card.
Not at all. It can block basically everything in the early game and then power out Convoke, and then when you don't need it anymore, you can cash it in for a card.
All right, so we're cleaning up the pack here with a Chrono Stutter, and it looks like he got a Meditation Puzzle. Have you ever cast that one?
I've not. I like me a Convoke spell, but don't need 8 life that badly.
It's not on the to-do list? It might be on mine. It might be. So let's look at what he's looking at so far. He's got a nice solid blue-black deck. It's mostly black. That makes that Paragon a lot better. But the blue cards he have are actually solid.
Yeah, he's got card advantage, he's got tempo, Quickling, just a nice solid all-around pick. The one thing I'd be worried about with this deck is the mana curve. I mean, aside from Black Cat, we just don't have, we don't have Typhoid Rats, we don't have Child of Night. We don't have that much we can do early. We see Quickling, yeah, it's a 2-drop, but you're not going to cast it on the second turn of the game.
Right.
I think what Owen wants to do right now, pick up a couple more removal spells, maybe 1 bomb, but just get some things to do in the early game so that he doesn't fall too far behind and he can really leverage those card advantage spells.
Yeah, if Pack 2 goes anyway the same as Pack 1 as far as black is concerned, he's going to have his pick of the litter to whatever he wants to do. He's going to be able to fill his curve out. He's going to be able to take a bomb here and there. So now we are looking at the first pick of Pack 2. He's got a red card pulled to the front. And there is Exalted Skyblade. That's one of the designer cards.
Yeah, Exalted Skyblade, really a top-down assassin card. Really very flavorful. I think the thing Owen's excited about in this pack is he's going to be able to... yeah, Covenant Blood, very, very good. We see a Sign in Blood, a Cursed Spirit. He's going to be able to get at least one of these black cards back. Yeah. And I think that's something really exciting to see a pack this deep this early on in the draft.
Yeah, and the actual designer is Rob Pardo of World of Warcraft, who designed Xantif Skyblade. So that's a pretty cool card. It kind of feels like, a rogue backstabbing. I may have been that guy. Just backstabbing people. Who needs to level your rogue when you can just backstab
You're
people?
saying you're a traitor, that I shouldn't trust you, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I may be a little sly and maybe carrying a blade. All right, so here's pick 2 of Pack.
Wow.
A Stab Wound. There's also a Razorfoot Griffin. I don't know what's that in the front for. You think there's a consideration of switching into white?
I think that's just obfuscating your Stab Wound so that other people may not incidentally see it. I think Stab Wound just far and away the best pick here. One of the best cards in the format, a card you rarely pass. That is a big payoff for Owen. It's a win condition, provides early defense.
Yeah.
You can even search it up if he gets like an Avacyn's Pilgrim later and doesn't end up going deep into blue. I mean, Stab Wound's just everything you could possibly want out.
It's a good thing that thing's at uncommon now, because when it was common in the previous set, whew, that was some sweet playing.
That was a powerful card. Wow, a Jace's Ingenuity, 3 whole cards. You see Carrion Crow, Crippling Blight, Evolving Wilds to make his mana better, but I think you just got to draw 3 cards right
Yeah,
here.
exactly. That Jace's Ingenuity is perfect for Owen's deck right now. And he's doing that weird ordering again where it looks like he's trying to figure out what he might be able to get on the crackbacks.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
he could
think
table
so.
a nice black card.
We see a research assistant that I think would fit nicely into his deck, helping out the mana curve. Festergloom, a card that you want against what many people consider to be the best deck in the format in green-white tokens. So again, a lot of stuff he's going to be able to get from these packs as they go back around the table.
All right, so now we get to look at the next pack, and we got a not so great black card in the front, Unmake the Grave, but let's see what's hiding back behind that. Whoa, a Shadow Cloak Vampire. Solid.
Yeah, Shadow Cloak Vampire, you know, it's not quite a 4/3 flyer for 5, but you can make it that if you got Covenant of Bloods to pad your life total a bit. A good curve topper, not a card that you're looking to take very highly, but a card you're definitely willing to play.
All right, and that's exactly what he picked. His curve still hasn't been rectified. He doesn't have a lot of 2-drops that he can kind of go to in the early game, but you know, he has a solid mid to late game right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I mean, the nice thing is a lot of the lower curve thing, a research assistant, you could definitely use that.
And a necromancer's assistant. Looks like we got the interns in this pack. he gets his choice of which one, what does he need help with the most?
This is a top-down intern theme set. Corporate America impeding upon Magic the Gathering. Yeah, I like research assistant here just to have something at the 2.
Yeah, it helps his curve out.
Yeah. Necromancer's Assistant, though, I think pretty undervalued. There's a lot of graveyard synergies in black-green, a couple in blue-green, but even just in mono-black, it turns on cards like Gravedigger and Unmake the Graves. Really pretty powerful.
It's very good in the late game. All right, so now not a lot for Owen in this pack. He's got a Witch's Familiar, which, you know, it's a serviceable body. 3 toughness, 2 power. Is that something you're really looking for in this format?
You know, weirdly, I think it is. I mean, it's a vanilla 2/3 for 3. Not obviously an incredibly high pick, but it plays defense. It gets pumped by the Paragon. It allows you to convoke out those Covenants of Blood. And ultimately, when you're a blue-black control deck, I think you just want to stay alive, and it accomplishes that admirably.
Speaking of staying alive, there was a Necrobite to the front of that pack, but he's still looking through. Oh, a Crippling Blight. That's a nice little early game stabilizing removal card.
Yeah, I really like Crippling Blight. There's a lot of 1 toughness creatures in the format, and if you have a card like Child of Night that you're just trying to connect with, it can allow you to get in, you know, 2 or 3 attacks when you previously would have to initiate a trade. So I think Crippling Blight, a pretty powerful pick there. Again, it's another thing he can do early just to make sure he stays alive to cast cards like Jace's Ingenuity.
Okay, so there's an Encrust, and there's a Dissipate. So looks like no black cards for him, and the picks between Encrust or Dissipate, but he has Dissipate pulled to the front.
Yeah, I like Dissipate here. It's a little awkward in that it's a double blue spell you want early. I don't think, I mean, he's mostly heavy black. I think double blue in the early game going to be challenging, but it's definitely an upgrade to the 4-mana counter spell he already has. It's a card he wants in his pool, and I don't think you need Encrust in a black deck where you have better ways of killing big creatures.
So I was just about to say that these were draft scraps, but there was a Sign in Blood just waiting for Owen. And 5 cards left in the pack. How often are you happy to see a Sign in Blood?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're thrilled to see a Sign in Blood. And with Sign in Blood, Divination, Jace's Ingenuity, Gravedigger, he's going to have all the card advantage he needs.
All right, a second Witch's Familiar for Owen. So he's got to be the only one playing black. He's got to be the only black drafter in this pod.
I would guess so. I mean, you know, maybe there's one other drafter at the table, but I mean, black is definitely the correct color. Wow, Crippling Blight and Evolving Wilds. I think I might even take Evolving Wilds here because all the double blue, but Crippling Blight, very powerful.
Yeah, he may be having some mana issues because he does have a couple of double blue spells that he really wants to cast. He has to Dissipate, and he has the Ingenuity. Nothing here for him there, but Crippling Blight. You could just go heavy black and just deal with the double blue later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you don't need to cast Dissipate on turn 3. You can cast it on turn 5 after you've unloaded your hand, maybe when you're keeping Flesh to Dust mana up. So, yeah, I mean, Crippling Blight, way more powerful card than Evolving Wilds and Limited. Definitely makes sense to take.
All right, so how would you rate this deck thus far? As we get a good look at the review from Owen here.
I think this is definitely like a B+, A- deck. I mean, you've got a lot going for you. You've got card advantage, you've got removal, you have, you know, some tempo positive plays. I think the one thing you're lacking is just a couple more early drafts. I think you really want like Child of Night. I think you could really use maybe like a bomb. So it's definitely not a perfect deck, but this is a solid deck. I mean, if you're gonna draft blue-black, I mean, aside from like a Jurabai Murklurker, something of that nature, this is basically what you want your deck to look like.
Right, so we may see Owen prioritize curve fillers over overall power level of a card.
I would say so. I mean, you've got the Crippling Blights are just so good in this deck because with all the card drawing, they allow you to, you know, not fill your hand with spells that you won't be able to cast. So you can cast like a Divination and Blight something, even if it just makes it smaller, that allows some of your blockers to block it profitably. I mean, his deck is doing what you want to be doing in this format and this color combination.
All right, so let's take a look to see if Owen can open something sweet in pack 3.
Well,
that's a sweet one. I didn't realize that Obnixilis was shackled before, but you know, now he's unshackled. That's another designer card. That's Brad Moore.
Yeah, I think Obnixilis, clear pick here. I think Typhoid Rats is good, but I mean, this is a legitimate bomb. We were saying he might want a bomb somewhere. He's got a lot of removal, so that Obnixilis is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. A pretty big pickup for him here. Welkin Turn, a card he could cast early, but not a card that plays defense. He's not really trying to race. I think you've got to be pretty excited about that Obnixilis in that
Yeah, his
pack.
deck doesn't seem very aggressive right now. There was also a Typhoid Rats in that pack, and one of those are going to come back. Probably the Typhoid Rats.
If you can get a Typhoid Rats back, I think you're thrilled.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's in store for the second pick for Owen. Let's get a look at that. And we got a Blue Paragon, we have a Shade, another Typhoid Rats, and Peel from Reality.
I like Rats here. I mean, Into the Void is a more powerful card. The thing is, he's already got one, and I don't think you need that much tempo in this format. Meanwhile, I do think you need early, smaller creatures in order to power out Covenant of Blood.
Right, and it looks like he has the cheaper cards in front of the more powerful, slower cards. So it looks like he is prioritizing early game right now in this pack 3.
The other downside of Typhoid Rats is if it gets hit by a card like Forge Devil, but you have so much card drawing, you just don't care, I think.
Wow, okay, so he does go with the Typhoid Rats.
So yeah, I mean, Owen's so far just getting exactly what he needs. I mean, even those two cards, he's got close to a playable deck right now.
Right. Now, there was a Rot Feast Maggot in that pack. He just went straight by it, probably looking for something a little bit cheaper, but no other options for him, so he's got a Nissa's Expedition to the front.
Huh. Nissa's Expedition, I think better than it seems like. It's really easy to cast that card on the third turn of the game, either with a Raise the Alarm or with a 1-drop. And when you're doing that, I mean, you're just at a different stage of the game than your opponent. I don't think he's considering playing it. Rot Feaster, good for the reasons we talked about. That said, I kind of like the Research Assistant here, just giving himself another 2-drop.
Yeah, I was wondering why he didn't put more consideration in that, but maybe he thinks that that's another card that he can table.
Maybe so, and I mean, with the Vampire and Sign in Blood, you do need some life gain in your deck, so it makes sense having one. Wow, a big card there in Necrogen Scudder.
Yes, Necrogen Scudder. He also has a Typhoid Rats, but ooh, he's got a Heat Ray to the front too, but this can't be the thought of trying to splash Heat Ray. This is the pick order of this pack, and what am I going to get back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe you could splash Heat Ray, but I don't like it. Scudder, though, just an incredible card.
Yes.
I mean, a 3/3 for 3, already good. Flying on top of that. I mean, flying, a 3/3 flyer costs 5 mana in this set. Nimbus the Isle is already good. The 3 life relevant, but that's why you have stuff like Rot Feaster Maggot to gain that life back.
And speaking of Rot Feaster Maggots, Owen has an opportunity to get a 3rd copy if he would like. There's also a Necromancer's Assistant and a Cursed Spirit. So now he's kind of at a crossroads. Does he want more offense? Does he want a little bit of defense? Does he want a 3-drop?
Yeah, I think you have to take the Assistant. I mean, a Cursed Spirit, a way better card. But in the 3 slot right now, I mean, he's got a pair of Witches familiar, but not really a whole lot else. I think he just needs to cast a permanent on the 3rd turn of the game.
And he also has a Gravedigger to go with that, that assistance, so he can get some cutesy combos going on there.
Yeah, I mean, a Necrobite, a really good card. He can take another Crippling Blight. Festergloom I really like here as a sideboard against aggressive red and aggressive white decks.
Is this too early to pick a sideboard card?
I don't think so. I think he's got plenty of playables. I mean, we were looking at his deck and it was filled out pretty well. Crippling Blight also good against those decks, but he's already got 2 copies. I think it's smart now to take narrower but more potentially powerful cards because, you know, the 25th card in your main deck essentially has 0 value. So why not take a powerful sideboard card?
All right, and here we have a Turn to Frog and a Bronze Sable. So now the question is, creature to fill out the curve or a very solid trick?
I think relevantly, the Bronze Sable we've talked about also blocks a Cursed Spirit, which you have, so getting that out of the table is relevant. I like Bronze Sable here because he just needs more 2-drops.
All right, and Bronze Sable was the pick. All right, so now getting down to the remains of the pack, but there is a Cursed Spirit left and a negate, so maybe another opportunity to get a sideboard card, or does he need another Spirit?
I think Spirit's just so much better, and you already have 2 counter spells, so the marginal return on the negate just not that incredibly high.
I think he has 3. He already has a negate that he picked up pack 1.
Really? Oh,
yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you've got to be happy to get that Spirit there. I mean, you're going to play all of those that you have.
All right. Nothing here for the Turtenwald.
Yeah,
so,
Mrs. Expedition up there. Gather Courage. So Gather Courage really one of the format's premier spells. Being able to cast it for free makes it one of the few combat tricks I really like better on defense
So why
than
is
offense.
it still in that pack?
That's a really good question. You know, I mean, green might be as underdrafted as we've seen black here. Wow, a late Zoff Shade.
We've seen those go late in pack 1 and pack 2. So I think Owen was already on the, if I see a shade, it's going to come back to me, you know, pick 14 or 13 or 12. All right, so we're running out this pack. How would you grade this deck now?
I really like it. I could actually see taking Void Sneer here just for tempo. I mean, again, Vampire, a better card. But yeah, I mean, this is what I want a blue-black deck to look like. I think, you know, he didn't get any removal out of this pack, specifically a late Unmake the Graves turns on those assistants.
Right.
So I think maybe like 1 more removal spell or something like that. But in general, I mean, I think you've got to be very excited about this deck.
So how did...
Wow. 13th pick, a Cursed Spirit.
Can we conclusively say that there's only 1 black drafter in this pod?
I think at this point, Rashad, we can. Yes.
Now, I was going to ask you how well did he draft the seat, but that kind of answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely read the color that he wants to be in. I think he got really about the best possible deck that he could get for this seat. And we saw a couple of things like Evolving Wilds go around. Maybe that says, okay, should we have taken one of those, maybe splash something? But I just don't think he needs to do that. I think his deck is very good. I think he drafted it very well. I think there's a reason that Owen is one of the best players active right now. Eager to see how he does at this pod.
All right, that was Owen Turtenwald. And we're going back. All right, so thanks. That was the Tournament Center.